culinary mess that she brought and a cutout and all to keep us all safe. It was wonderful. Thank you, Jacob. Oh, right. Would you like some too?
Oh, no, thank you.
All right.
No, I'm going to wait.
Here,
Yeah.
do you need your cane to get up there?
No, I need you to hold it
I'm going to
if you
do that.
can.
I can.
Okay.
I am slightly more flexible now than I was
Ooh,
earlier today. All right, I got it.
okay, got it?
Yep.
Oh,
All right, Patrick, can you lean that up
here, I
against?
got it.
Oh, okay.
There, I'm here.
Here's your microphone.
Okay. Thank you.
Excellent. All right.
Is that all right?
Yes.
I'll put it in back in my rear.
At least I can get
That'll
in the
do
chair
it.
now. I know. Really good. Well, Joanne, whether you're drinking or not, I'm going to raise a glass to you.
Oh, thank
Yay.
you.
Let's give Joanne a toast.
Is this on? See if yours is on.
I might not be.
Yours is on.
No, I am. Right.
Mine's on.
Right. You going to turn up the sound? And we are recording this, so anybody that you know who wishes they were here will be able to watch it on YouTube or Facebook. Are we all set? Do you have it live? Oh, excellent. Well, in that case, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. This is like a theatrical thing. I have to wait for my cue. And thank you, virtual audience, for joining us in another book lunch for Joanne Fluke, her 22nd year of writing. Wow.
It's been a long time, huh?
Mm. Murder She Baked, which is the Hallmark name, as you probably know. And in fact, the chocolate chip cookie murder, Joanne, we were talking just before you came out here, was published in 22 years ago.
Oh my gosh, really?
Mm.
I lose track. I, you know, I write so much. I lose track but everybody's still around. All the characters are still around. Thank goodness. Yeah, we haven't killed anybody off recently.
Yay. So before the chocolate chip cookie murder, Joanne wrote 12 novels of psychological suspense. Darker. So what prompted you, kiddo, to move yourself into the cozy crime realm?
Well, actually, my husband did. He prompted me to please not do that anymore. I used to wake up with nightmares. Oh, it was awful. I dreamed that somebody was chasing me down a dark alley and they were going to kill me. And I'd wake up shaking and I'd scream. And he would flick on the light and he'd say, "It's okay, honey. I'll get up and I'll make you a cup of hot chocolate." So he would. He'd get up and he'd make me a cup of hot chocolate, which I thought was very nice. He was very, very thoughtful. And this happened with every book that I wrote for a while because I was writing the thrillers and they kept scaring me. And finally, I think about the 10th one, he said, "Okay, honey, another nightmare?" And I said, "Yeah, it's the book I'm writing." And he goes, "Okay, okay, all right, fine. Okay, I got the light on. I'll go make you hot chocolate. But dear, couldn't you please write something else?" And Hannah was born.
So there's a really, publishers often give me little bits of information to share with you in case I can't think of any questions to ask, which is rare. But I do think that there were some very interesting comments. I don't know, Joanne, if you ever see any of these promotional pieces, do you?
Nope.
All right, so this will be fun for you too.
There might be a reason, Barbara. I'm not sure.
Okay, so this is an article that I thought was really very interesting. Cozies make it easy for a reader to create a boundary between themselves and the murders they read about, in part because the characters themselves tend to maintain light-hearted distance from the crimes they are investigating. Whereas Tana French, for example, is consumed by her protagonist, by her detective work, even fearing that it might overwhelm her and drive her mad. Hey there, Joanne. Hannah Swenson manages to make a party of her sleuthing. Instead of late-night undercover work and gritty forensic analysis, Hannah invites her prime suspect over for quiche and champagne.
It's true.
It is true. So, lady goes on to say, "It makes sense to me that my sister, who introduced her to the cozy, would love the genre. Her life has been punctuated with difficulty, and yet she remains one of the most positive people I know. She avoids thrillers and hard news and tends towards Hallmark movies and HGTV. I am the opposite. My experience with violence have led me to seek it hungrily. I watch lurid news stories and crime documentaries with vaccination. They help me parse my greatest fears through grim exposure therapy. Wow, P.D. James once said in a conversation she and I had how comforting it was, she said. It is, she said, to lie in bed and know that the footstep on the stair is not really coming for you. Whoa, right?
Ooh, that
All
is
right.
frightening.
Yep. By wallowing in the worst of the world, this lady says, I convinced myself I'm taking control of the vilest possibility. My sister's staunchly conflict-free media diet and my own almost seem like flip sides of the same coin. In the end, we're both drawn to murder narratives, just very different ones. Both of us seek, in a sense, to regain control over the violence we see mirrored in the real world. Maybe we believe that we can filter it through the media we consume, and that what we consume will still somehow bolster us. So I thought that was an interesting essay on, why we read what we read. Don't you all find as readers, or maybe you don't, I do anyway, that it all depends on my mood, what particular book I feel like reading, which is why real readers always have multiple books, right? There was a guy in the New York Times profile on Sunday who has 40 books stacked next to his bed. I was really impressed. I think my 12 was kind of high, but 40 books, right? But then he went through why he has them and what he picks up in different moods. So do all of you vary your reading, or are you pretty much the same profile? No? All right. So anyway, Joanne?
Yeah.
This genre is meant to distract and comfort, and it means to acknowledge pain, but in a way that softens it and makes life more bearable.
Yes, and there's great recipes.
Right.
Yeah.
So we talked about that. So let's talk about the story for a little bit before we move to food.
Okay.
What's going on with Hannah?
Well, Hannah's had a rough time of it. You know that. She did get married, and it was a disaster. And no, I didn't, but she did. No, my husband was very nice, and but she had a disaster of a marriage, and now, of course, she still has conflicts between Mike and Norman. I mean, it's going to go on for a while. I know that. Hannah does not want to give up either one of them, and she doesn't want to choose yet. She's not ready. I don't know if she's ever going to be ready. I know how many people really want, like, how many people want Mike? Okay. How many people want Norman? Oh my goodness.
Well,
I
this
think
may not be
Norman
a
won
fair
that one.
this may not be a fair sample audience. I don't know. Who knows that they may have taken bribes or something to raise their hand for Norman.
I
What do you
don't know.
think?
Not for me,
Not
because
for
I
you.
don't know who it's going to be
Right.
yet. If it's going to be anyone, actually. I'm not
Well,
sure.
if you think of the Stephanie Plum model, Stephanie has yet to really choose between,
Uh-huh.
you know, that's right. That's right. So, maybe
Yeah.
maybe in a more relaxed stage about marriage, she doesn't actually have to choose.
Well, it depends on how relaxed she is, I guess.
Well, it is a small
No,
town
we
in
can't do
Minnesota,
that.
right?
Never
Okay.
mind. Never mind. We're not going to do that. And besides, Grandma Newsom would say something like, well, even the Lord rested on the seventh day. Meaning, yeah, you could divide up the days between two guys, but not the seventh day.
So, when we are near the front of this book, we learned that Mike is thinking of retiring.
Mhm.
He is thinking of retiring and possibly leaving Lake Eden.
That's right. He is thinking about it. Um, I'm not going to spoil it. I won't tell you what. I see. I'm working on the next one. This always happens. I'm here. I've written one, and I'm halfway through the next one. But no, I'm not giving anything away. But I can tell you that both of them are still in the next one too. How's that?
Well, I mean, he could retire and still, anyway,
And stay in Lake Eden.
right.
Yes, he could.
It is a story arc within the book. How is Lake Eden going to prevent Mike from retiring or moving away? Um, and then Norman is in the book, and Norman and Hannah are kind of sharing a house, right?
Yeah, Norman has a farmhouse that he built, and it's a beautiful farmhouse. And of course, they both have cats. Norman has Cuddles, and Hannah, of course, has Moisha. And the cats love to go out to the farmhouse, and so they're kind of they're kind of sharing it. So, we have to see how that goes. But Mike's still in the picture, so I'm not spoiling it.
No, you're not. So this book has a kind of baseball theme and a baseball structure. So tell us about because somebody is going to be murdered. Although in Lake Eden, it's hard to believe there's this person still standing besides
Yeah.
Mike, Norman,
Oh,
and Hannah.
yes.
Right, but
Still,
still.
somebody just wrote to me and asked me, well, we're going to go on a family vacation. Where, I know it's in Minnesota, but where is Lake Eden? And I go, Lake Eden's in my head. You can't be in my head, but it is very much the same of it's all little towns where almost everybody knows everybody. And little Minnesota towns, when fishing season opens, of course, you get all the strangers in town. So Lake Eden is pretty much like it's Minnesota. And I miss Minnesota. I live in California now. I like California, but I kind of, what I miss the most is Christmas time because it's snow on the ground and the colored lights reflect against the snow. And it's so pretty, and I don't see that in California. I don't know. How about out here, Barbara?
It's hard to know. At 113 today, it's hard to get.
Oh, I know.
We do have a version of Christmas. I'm from Chicago, and you know what I miss is the fall. I miss October. I miss the colors in the trees very much. I will say that I think we have an extraordinarily beautiful spring here. And for those of you who are out and about this spring with all the rain and the decent, the cactus, the blooms, the Palo Verde trees, I think are as beautiful as dogwoods, which is, because I lived in Virginia for a while. So it's all different, but you're right. Christmas
Yeah.
is not quite the same. However, I am going to Duluth in September because we are going to take a Great Lakes cruise from Duluth to Toronto. I grew up on Lake Michigan, but I've never actually done all the Great Lakes. This is the alternative to our Moscow to St. Petersburg cruise that we originally signed
Oh,
up for.
nice.
Right.
No,
But
that sounds like
but here's
fun.
what I find completely fascinating, showing you that Minnesota is changing too. Duluth is the surf capital of the Midwest. The winter surf capital because Lake Superior has this extraordinary winter wave thing that crashes into Duluth. And there's a California, I think he's California, but he might be Hawaiian, but I think he's California, an entrepreneur that has opened a surf shop and maybe opening a subsidiary surf shop in Duluth.
So are you going to go surfing? when you
No,
go?
because it's not winter. But although, Lake Superior is so cold, I don't
Well,
know
you
that
go
it needs to
sledding
be
in the
winter,
winter.
right?
You've got to go tobogganing and sledding, and that's or ice skating, you know.
But Duluth is not a small town in Minnesota.
Oh no,
No.
oh no, it's not small. No,
So,
not at all. Not as I. It's not as big as Minneapolis and St. Paul because they kind of run together. That's the state capital, St. Paul. But still, it is. It's large. It's a large city. Yeah.
right. So Lake Eden is basically kind of a dream small town that exists in your
Yeah,
imagination.
it's just sort of a Lake Eden is a lot like all the small towns I've ever been through or visited or whatever in Minnesota. Yeah, that's Lake Eden. And oh, they get the snow, they get the ice and the snow and the and mud season. Mud season's lots of fun. Oh, try it. It's really terrible. Yeah, try to drive in the mud. But no, Minnesota has the wonderful thing about Minnesota, as far as I'm concerned, is if you can get through the winter and then it's spring and then all the flowers pop up, you feel like you have survived something. I've never felt that way in California. I don't know. Do you feel that way here, Barbara?
Well, no, because our winters are actually the best time. I feel that way when we get to, it used to be September and now it's November when it finally comes down under 100 degrees and I
Oh,
feel,
nice.
yay. So I have a friend, we have a friend from Alaska. Some of you know her, Dana Stabenow, who comes down and spends part of the winter with us. And every year on December 21st, she goes, yay. I say, why are you yay? And she said, we're gaining daylight. And I said, you go, yay. And I'm going, shit. We're
Yes.
gaining daylight. So I feel when we get to June 21st, I should be celebrating, going, yay, we're losing daylight. We're moving towards darkness. It all depends on where you live. But the magical thing about Lake Eden is apparently calories evaporate. Because if you read about what people eat for breakfast at the cookie jar, it's extraordinary. Could you start your day seriously, with 3 or 4 treats from, and it would be lethal, right? I know. So it really needs to be super cold, in my opinion, for people to burn calories at the rate they need to patronize the cookie jar.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Well, not only that, see in Minnesota in the winter, everybody wears parkas and they've got moon boots on and they're bulky clothing. And then you realize that pretty soon summer's coming and you might have to wear a swimsuit. So everybody goes on a diet. I mean, that's when it happens. Yeah. And you're like, oh my gosh, I gained weight over the winter. Oh, I've got to do something. So you do, you know.
So tell us a little bit before we get to the food. Tell us a little bit about who is murdered and the background for this, because it's a.
Oh, well, my favorite sport, um, I don't play it, but my favorite sport is baseball. And so there is a murder of a very important baseball player who's also kind of a no good neck guy, you know? I mean, that is the murder. And of course, the scary part is who finds the body. It's not Hannah. Yes. So when you read it, you'll find out who finds the body. You're going to go, oh no, I could hardly wait. Yeah. Send me an email when you read it. But I love baseball and I watch baseball. We used to have baseball every year it was in the summer in Minnesota, and every town had a baseball. They had a team. Every single town, small town, and we were in a small town area. So we'd play Gray Eagle, and we'd play Uppsala, and we'd play all the different towns, and everybody would come. And of course, there was a snack shack, and everybody got snacks and things, but you could also bring a cooler with anything in it that you wanted. And a lot of people did not have just water, so they were pretty excited about going to the baseball games. Yeah, and it was always in the afternoon because everybody went to church in the morning. Yeah, it's Grandma Newton strikes again.
So Hannah knows everyone in town by name, in addition to their favorite sweet treat.
Hmm.
And her bakery, the Cookie Jar, acts as a community meeting place for Lake Eden locals. Murder might be what excites the town, but Swenson's desserts are what unite it. I love that. The whole idea. Everybody comes in for what? Gossip and, you know,
Yep.
calories and the whole 9 yards, which I love.
Yeah.
I forgot. I meant to start off, pardon me, by raising a glass to Joanne because the Mystery Writers of America voted her a Grand Master in their 2022 cycle alongside Michael Conley. How's that for really wonderful?
Thank you. You know, when I found out about it, I got scared because, like, for instance, with the Academy Awards, people don't usually get an Academy Lifetime Achievement Award unless they're dying. And, yeah. So I called my doctor and I said, does does has anybody been inquiring about my health lately? And he said, wait a minute, I'll check with the front desk. And so he checks with his gal in the front desk. Has anybody called about Joanne's health? No. And he said, why? Are you worried, Joanne? Are you worried about insurance? Okay. No, I was worried that maybe I was dying and didn't know it. He said, no, as far as I know, would you like to come in for a checkup? I said, no, it's okay. No, I don't have to. But I was worried. I really was.
But that was a really great honor and very exciting. So, did you go to New York for the ceremony?
No, no, I could not get. I can't fly that long in a plane. I mean, I can't do it. Oh, I can't fly without a plane either, but but no, I can't do it because my eyes are so bad and they won't let me do that. So my eye doctor said, no, 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 you can't do that. And I said, how about the train? And he said, yeah, that's okay. You could take the train. Well, I tried to get accommodations on the train. You can't get there. I mean, I did try, and it would have taken me like a month to get, forget it. So no, I sent my regrets, and we recorded. My son is pretty good recording things. And we recorded a little thing so they could play it, at the award thing. And so I didn't get to meet Michael Connolly. I felt so bad.
I'm really sorry to hear that. I mean, I thought it was wonderful, the pairing of the two of them. I love that because it really represents kind of two sides of why people like to read crime fiction.
Yeah, I wish Hannah could meet Harry Bosch. I really do. Yeah.
I don't think that Harry could take on the calorie overload, but we'll find out.
That could be. That could be.
One way or the other.
She could probably kill him with cookies.
So anyway, we do have a baseball guy who's not very popular, and he is the victim in the book, but he's really kind of there, so we can string recipes all around the murder. So
Oh, yeah.
Hannah's desserts are actually Joanne's recipes that come from her own kitchen experiments, her family's recipe book, and sometimes from you fans who send in a recipe
Yes.
and get an acknowledgement. The
This
feature
happens a lot.
Does it?
People send me recipes. Yes. And I'm very grateful. And some of them are amazing. It's great. So if you got a recipe, send it. Yeah.
Sometimes the recipes have nothing to do with the actual plot, but there are references that bring them in. And I find that increasingly, it seems to me, Joanne, there are more recipes in each book. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, there are more in each book. This is true. And the reason is people keep asking for them. More recipes, more recipes. And now I have enough that people have sent me. I've gotten family recipes. I get recipes all over. And people are very generous with that. And I have enough where I could do another cookbook if I could ever find the time, because we did the first Lake Eaton cookbook, and I was really proud of that, and I would like to do a second one now because we have enough recipes. So, keep your fingers crossed that I get time, and maybe there'll be a second cookbook.
That would be wonderful. So I marked a couple of recipes in the book to point out to you some of the detail that Joanne goes to. So we have chocolate cherry oatmeal squares. And Joanne is kind enough to tell us exactly what brand she uses. So a 21-ounce can of cherry pie filling, in parentheses, I used Comstock Original Country Cherry. So you kind of know what to look for. 2 tablespoons instant tapioca. I used Kraft Minute tapioca. Now, later in this recipe, it says, remove the pan from the oven using oven mitts. Remember my comment earlier about
Yeah.
Right. And
Well, you'd be surprised.
no, I wouldn't. And I also noticed that you frequently talk about impeccably clean hands, which reminds me that when I was a young bride at Stanford University, my mother sent me some recipes, and one was my favorite meatloaf, which I loved it. And prominent among the directions, it said, "Mix with clean hands." So even, even before Joanne was writing, there were moms out there saying to their daughters, mix with clean hands. I love it.
Well, I do that on purpose because when I was at one of the very first book signings, there was a mother with about 7-year-old girl, and um, they raised their hands. I said, any questions? And they wanted to ask a question, and the mother raised her hand and she said, well, I don't really have a question, but I got to tell you, I don't bake. She said, I've never baked, but I came home from work and my 7-year-old daughter had made me chocolate chip crunch cookies. And she said they were so good. I said, how did you do that? And she said, oh, I read Chocolate Chip Cookie Murder and I followed the directions. And she said, now my daughter says, Mom, I better teach you how to bake. And she's going to do it. I thought that was darling. Yeah. They were such a nice pair, mother and daughter. Yeah.
So another recipe, apropos of what we're doing tonight, sort of, satin swirl champagne cocktail. Ingredients: 6 shots, just about 9 ounces, in case you're not sure what a shot is,
Uh-huh.
of apricot brandy, 8 ounces apricot juice. I used 1 Kern's apricot nectar, 1 8-ounce can, and 1 750 milligram bottle of some decent champagne. I use Corbel Brut champagne. Now, here comes Norman. He has 3 notes in this recipe from Norman. Norman, note number 1. I have found that if you add something like fruit juice into the champagne to make a champagne cocktail, it will really stretch out the servings per champagne bottle. For instance, in this recipe, by using ice shaken mixture of the apricot brandy and the apricot juice, then pouring that mixture a third of the way up each champagne flute before adding champagne, I was able to serve 8 people cocktails by using just 1 bottle of 700 milliliter bottle of Corbel Brut. I love that. Okay, so second note from Norman. I like to use a glass pitcher, shaved ice, and a cocktail rod for this. Quote, a cocktail rod is just a fancy bartender term for a straight glass stirrer. I find it adds to the theatrics if you do it this way. Strain out the ice and pour about 2 or 3 ounces of the resulting apricot mixture into each champagne flute. Fill the flute the rest of the way with the brim with champagne, and once again, you stretch your bottle. Norman's note number 3. I know it's a lot of notes, but I just keep thinking of ways to make this better. The last time I made these over at Dolores and Ducks, I served the satin swirl champagne cocktails with just a tiny bit of maraschino cherry juice floated on top of each cocktail. Then I placed a maraschino cherry into each flute as a garnish. Everyone seemed to love it. Norman note number 4. This is the last note for this recipe. I was thinking of changing this version of the satin swirl champagne cocktail's name, the version with the maraschino cherry juice on top and the cherry garnish, from satin swirl champagne cocktail to sunrise over the vineyard. What do you think? So you really have a good time doing that, don't you?
I
Because
do. I
Norman
have
is
so
not
much
actually
fun.
Norman, right? He's really
And
Joanne.
actually, my son taught bartending at American Bartending School, and so he helps with the recipes for champagne or for any kind of cocktail. And I have every Thursday, I have something I call Girls Afternoon, even though nobody's a girl, really, not anymore. They're adults, but everybody comes over and we have cocktails, and my son John makes the cocktails. So, it's good because I can refer to him and I don't have to drink them all, although, I don't know. Maybe that's a drawback, come to think about it.
Right. So any other recipes in this book you particularly admire?
I can't remember anymore.
Oh, here.
Isn't that awful?
No, it's not at all. You've written it. I can actually read you the index of recipes. Here we go. Pink lemonade whippersnapper cookies. How's that? All
Oh,
right.
they're
So,
yummy.
where do you get the pink lemonade flavor?
Oh, Kool-Aid.
See, told
Yeah,
you.
Kool-Aid. Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
Okay. Then we have tropical pie. What's in tropical pie? Is that the pineapple and apricot, wasn't it? And
Yeah,
something?
yeah.
Okay. Lakeside stew. Is it fish?
No, and I did it on purpose. It's not fish. It's like you got skunked and you went fishing, and but you have to have something to eat. That's what it is. And it's made in a crock pot, so you can put it on. I love crock pots. I've just got this thing for my crock pots. I think I have. My husband used to say she has a phalanx of crock pots because I did. I think I had, oh, at least 10 at one time of all different sizes and everything. And what I love about crock pots are you can spray the inside with Pam or another product the same, and spray the inside of the crock. And you can put chopped onions in there, and you can put, put any kind of meat that you want in there. And right before you go to bed, and turn it on low. And then you go to bed. And in the morning, when you wake up, you're smelling something that smells so good. And then you know what you're going to make out of it. Maybe it's spaghetti sauce, maybe it's, it could be anything. And that's a lot of these recipes I do a lot of crock pot recipes because I like to use the crock pot. Yeah.
I thought for a scary moment she was going to say, then you know what you're going to have for breakfast. But that's going to
No,
interfere
no,
with the
it's not ready
calorie
yet.
consumption at the
Yeah.
Lake Eden Bakery, right? If you're having like protein for breakfast, that can't be right. All right. So we have pink lemonade cake and we have pink lemonade cream cheese frosting just to up your game. We have chocolate lace cookies and raspberry crisps. And then we have something called blue cheese meatloaf mountain. What is that?
Well, it looks like a mountain. Okay, it's a meatloaf, and you make it in little muffin tins, and so it kind of looks like a mountain because it rises on the top. You fill them pretty full, and then you can pretend if you want to cut little things in there and put blue cheese drizzles down them, and it looks like ski runs, and that's all. But I mean, they're really cute, and kids like them, and they're fun to make.
Kids like blue cheese? Seriously?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah, a
my
lot of
kids did
kids
not
like blue cheese.
It
If
was
they
too
don't
strong.
like, put yellow cheese. Put
Got
Velveeta if you want to. That melts beautifully.
So it's all in the presentation. I love it. All right, now I don't know what these two are, but I have to read these out. How now, brown cow, and how now, brown Bessie.
They're drinks.
Ah,
Yeah.
so a brown cow used to be something like ice cream and what was it, root beer?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And what's their how now, brown Bessie then?
Well, one is alcoholic and one isn't, as I remember.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cinnamon toast popcorn balls. That was really interesting
Oh.
and fairly elaborate if you read the directions.
Oh, they're good though.
Yeah, you
Oh.
pack them up to take them to surprise the baseball game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're so good, guys. You got to make that one. Yeah.
And then the orange honey butter sounds truly lethal. It
Oh,
involves.
it is. You can do anything with good butter. I'm raised in Minnesota. When we bought butter for a long time in Minnesota, it was you could not buy colored margarine.
That's right.
It was white. Just,
It was
snow white.
but it came with a little package of orange coloring. I remember this because
Yeah.
I grew up right next to Wisconsin, which protested margarine like you wouldn't believe.
Mhm.
And you would buy it, and then you were supposed to like mash up the orange coloring into the white margarine to make
Yeah.
it look more like butter.
You let it
Seriously.
room temperature, and then you just took your hands and did this with it, with
Clean
well,
hands.
yeah,
Preternaturally clean hands. is what you
impeccably
did.
cleaned hands. Although it was in a bag, it came in a bag, so you could do that. And it was why, you know,
That
I
was
don't know.
back in the day when I think that it was more, margarine was more about costs. And today, with all kinds of, food allergies and other things where people can't eat butter, like me, for example, who's now lactose intolerant,
Yeah,
um, my husband makes ghee, which he is butter, but if you turn it into ghee, then you lose the lactose part. So
yeah.
we don't use margarine, but margarine would have been a lifesaver for people who really develop a
Oh,
lactose
this is true.
allergy.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is very true.
And then finally, skipping over a whole bunch, the last recipe here is Norman's Pink Lemon Drop Martini, proving that pink is the color of this book. Right. What is a pink lemon drop martini?
Well, that is an alcoholic drink, and it is pink, and it's delicious. And you know, read it.
All right. Use either a cocktail shaker or a glass pitcher. Norman's first note. God, he's back to it again here. Whether you use a glass pitcher or a cocktail shaker for this recipe, you will stir this cocktail vigorously rather than shake it. Oh, Lord, it's James Bond. Remember? Stir, not shake.
That's
Right.
right.
You will also need to mash the raspberries up in the bottom of the pitcher or shaker before adding the ice to achieve the correct color. So, ingredients are a lemon wedge to moisten the rim of the glasses, white granulated sugar to rim the glass. Now, any of you drink martinis? Margaritas. Well, know that, that's how you get the salt rim, is right? Is they rub something
Hmm.
around the rim of the glass and then roll it in salt, right?
Yeah, you can't do it afterwards. You gotta
Well,
do the
that's
salt.
Norman's second note, right? You should do the rimming of the glasses with sugar before making any of the drinks. It will save time that way. Plus, it's really hard to rim a full glass. Love it.
It really is.
Right.
I have forgotten to do it a couple times, and no, it just doesn't work. You end up doing it on another glass and pouring it in. I mean, that's the only way you can do it.
It sounds like a pretty drink. I'm not sure that it really sounds to me like a martini with all the raspberries in it, but nonetheless,
Yeah.
vodka, Cointreau or triple sec, lemon juice, simple syrup, and 7 or 8 fresh raspberries. So, right.
Doesn't
So
that sound good? And look, everybody's getting, I'm thirsty. Yeah.
So baseball figures into the story, and baseball actually provides the final clue to the solution of the crime. So when you read the book, you will find out what that is. Let's ask Joanne about Hallmark in any future presentations. Although the writer's strike may suddenly have caused a problem, but what's
Uh,
going on, if anything, with Blake Eden and Hallmark?
oh, well, they came out with one. I think it's been aired. I haven't seen it yet. But then now they're doing another one. So this is good. They're really picking up on those because people like them. People are writing Hallmark and they're emailing them and saying, "Oh, we want more Hannah things. We want more Hannah movies. We want more." And of course, oh, I mean, there are some really good actors generally in them. And oh, Cameron. Cameron Matheson. Oh my gosh, guys, you're not going to believe it. He came up to me at one of the Hallmark parties and he said, "Joanne, would you mind posing for a picture with me?" And I went, "Be still my heart. Oh my gosh. I mean, John said later, John was with me on that, and my son, and said later, "Mom, your knees were shaking." I'm thinking, yes. Oh my gosh, he's a handsome guy. And now everybody's very good in the Hallmark movies, and I appreciate them doing it. And I think it's fun. I mean, they don't always follow the story. Mm-mm. I know, which bothered me at first. And then I thought, wait a minute, come on, they bought it. They bought it. That means that I could say, yeah, they made a movie out of my book, which really made me very excited. Yeah, it was, and the parties are fun. I don't know what's going to happen with the writer's strike, but see, they film in Canada, so it doesn't bother them as much. up there. There are regulations and rules up there. They have to use so many Canadian people in it and so many, I mean, some of like the director is Canadian, and several of the actors that are in it are Canadian, and a lot of the lighting people are. So, it doesn't bother us here. They couldn't do it here, but they can do it up there. So
Well,
that's
but they
what's
can't
going on.
hire American writers, so we'll
Hmm.
see. I think the whole writer's strike thing is going to have reverberations that are going to surprise all of us. Last time they had one, it gave us reality television. So this time, I think the AI, it's really going to give the AI thing a huge shot in the arm, and probably more foreign productions. I'm addicted to MHC TV, which I absolutely love, which has fabulous French. And remember, Call My Agent? Watch it on MHC TV. There's all kinds of great stuff. And BritBox and Acorn. So, there's plenty of content. But what I thought was interesting in the Allison Sweeney, who portrays Hannah, Hannah, in your original vision, as I understand it, was a redhead who,
Oh
and
yes, yeah,
Allison is what, blonde?
yeah. She's blonde. She is the Hollywood Hannah. Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Hollywood Hannah as
yeah,
opposed to
that's
Lake Eden
that's the
Hannah.
way I explain it to people because people go, I thought she had frizzy red hair, because I was talking about she had to use a curry comb on it, and but no, no, and Allison is the blonde, so she is the Hollywood Hannah, yeah, and no, she wouldn't do her. Hallmark doesn't like to use red hair for some reason. They don't want anybody to have red hair. Now, I don't understand why, but I don't know. It's never been explained to me. Well, why would they? I mean, why would they explain it to me? But no, they very seldom have a redhead in there, which I think is it's interesting. They have people with dark hair, they have people that are blonde, they have people with brown hair, but I don't think I've ever seen. Have you ever seen a movie on Hallmark with red hair?
I don't
I
know,
don't.
maybe they're thinking Rita Hayworth and Sirens from Hollywood or something doesn't really apply to Hallmark.
I
So,
don't
how
know.
about questions from you, the audience? Anybody like to ask a question? Oh, come on, guys. No cooking questions? Nothing. Yay, there's a brave person. Hi.
No, you don't need to do that. You can read this one first if you want to. Most people will read the book and then they will go back and they'll go, yeah, but how did that happen? And they'll read the whole series. But no, you don't. I've forgotten the phrase now that my husband used to use. They're contiguous but not continuous or something like that. I've
Yeah,
forgotten.
no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
The mystery is complete in the book.
Yeah.
So that part, you don't have to read anything else. The relationships, the characters, and what goes on develop from the chocolate chip cookie murder. So I already know from this conversation that Hannah got married and it didn't work out, right? And now she's torn between Mike and Norman.
Hmm.
And so that's a little bit of a spoiler if you are reading the earlier books and you know that, but it won't affect the mystery in each of the earlier books. So
Well,
uh,
the mystery's solved in every book.
that's right.
Yeah.
And also, it's not true for every author, but all of Joanne's earlier books are in print. Sometimes you come here and there's an author who is talking to you about a new book, but the publisher has not kept all the earlier books available to you, which can be really frustrating. But
Mhm.
in this case, they all are in paperback form. So you don't have to, go searching for used books or buy a Kindle or whatever it
No, and
is.
that's because I'm still with the same publisher. I think
Very
I think that
true.
yeah,
Yep.
that has a lot to do with it because people do switch publishers and then
That's true. Right.
mhm.
And I will mention that the cover designs, pardon me, I
Oh, yeah.
Can't do this all in one day.
Hero.
The cover designs, I think, are a lot of the reason that this series has been so successful. You know, they look like they belong together. The colors are always great.
Mhm.
The food on them is always, fun, and you can recognize them at a glance, right? And if you own all of them, put them together, you could like paper your kitchen. Yay!
My
All right.
cover artist is the most marvelous man. I met him once. I was in New York and
Yeah.
I actually got to Hiro Kimura. He's Japanese American. And he had not tasted American desserts before he started doing my books. And now he lives in Brooklyn, New York. And when he gets the assignment to do the book cover, like this one, he runs around the corner to the bakery and says, "Can you make this?" And they make it for him. And he'll taste it and then he runs home and he draws. And he does all the work on the covers. And there's a man, Lou, at Kensington, who puts together the colors and everything. And he does all the lettering. So there's two people working on the covers. So they're works of art. I am delighted with the covers. I've seen covers I didn't like, but these are gorgeous.
They really are. They do fit. Each cover really fits the story involved. Yes, ma'am.
Um, it's one way or the other way with these books. I mean, it's crazy because sometimes I will have a name I want to use, and then my publisher will decide, my editor will say, "I don't like that one," you know. So, then you're in trouble, right? So sometimes they'll go, "Okay," and other times they're, "No, let's try something else. Can you think of anything else?" And so sometimes I know, and sometimes I don't know until I'm actually beginning to write the book. Once I beginning to write the book, I know. But yeah, it's a crazy business.
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I think so.
Well,
Yeah,
that's her publisher's decision, not Joanne's.
yeah, not yes. Yes, I missed meeting her, unfortunately. I was in New York and I wanted to meet her and I went into Recorded Books, who she works for. Yeah, and I did not get the chance to meet her because she wasn't there that day. And I felt really bad because I wanted to tell her that so many people like the way she does it, you know? And I wanted to say that. But I told them to tell her, so I'm sure they did.
Anyone else? Yeah. Have you ever thought about franchising the
Yeah.
bakery?
Um, Not me personally, no. But I mean, people have asked if they could use the name. And you can't copyright a name like that, I found out. But and I go, sure. Carry
Well,
my
actually,
books
you
too.
can trademark it. There's a
Can you?
reason this bookstore is called the Poisoned Pen with an ED, because went back 33 and a half years ago when I went to open it, there was the poison pen out there, and I had to negotiate with the woman who owned the poison pen in order to be able to trademark the bookstore is the
Really?
poisoned pen. Yeah. So
Wow.
you can trademark it, but you can't copyright it. There's a real difference.
Oh, trademark. Yes, yes, you're right. You're
You
right.
can. So far, we have defended our trademark against a couple in Canada who wanted to open the poison pen in Toronto. I got an email one day from a customer in Canada who said she was surprised to see that we were opening a branch. And then there was another enterprising bookstore, I think it was in Pittsburgh or somewhere, anyway, maybe Ohio,
Really?
that also wanted to open a poison pen. And they were all astonished to discover that they couldn't just take the name.
Well, it's a great name. I
Well,
mean, I
thank
can
you.
understand.
But if you don't defend your trademark, you lose it. So you are obliged, once you trademark something, if anybody tries
Mhm.
to copy it, you are forced to litigate it or otherwise your trademark vanishes. So it's kind of complicated, but there we are. Poison pen letters are now called Twitter. But back in the day, or now they're called X. Actually, you probably all saw that today. That the little blue bird is a thing of the past, right? Right. Anyway, if you read Agatha Christie or some of the Golden Age mysteries, you discover that poison pen letters were the version of, a Twitter mob or a woke mob or something, and usually created havoc in the village. I mean, generally they were not urban, but rather small town kinds of things where somebody started a gossip ring or whatever it is. And it could be very destructive. So I kind of like that as a literary, mystery kind of a thing.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it was fun, right? My favorite, which I really wanted to call the bookstore, was in Winnetka, where I grew up, and it was called Sherlock's Home. And I really wanted
Oh,
to call the store Sherlock's Home, but there again, the trademark prevented me, so had to be imaginative, right? Anybody else have a question they would like to ask? Yes, ma'am.
oh, I haven't started yet.